Good day. This is Professional Skills 2, and today we're going to go through the Professional Skills 2 S1. Please look out on Call Campus for the dates, as at the time of making this video I do not have any of the submission dates, so you will need to download this from Call Campus with all of the appropriate dates on there. Alright, so at the back of this, there is an experiential learning employer confirmation form. This form needs to be submitted early to Jeanette via email, not to any of your lecturers. It needs to go to jeanette@boston.co.za. You need to submit a copy of this along with your written report with this assignment. Don't worry, there are going to be very specific steps to go through in this assessment. Very importantly, if you don't submit this form, your host employer confirmation form, before you begin at your workplace, you will get a technical penalty of -10%. So your speech in previous years, you used to have to give an in-person speech. Because we're not too sure what's going to happen this year, this speech will now be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. No other platform will be accepted, so please don't ask, don't submit SoundCloud, don't submit any other video hosting platform. YouTube is the only one that will be accepted. It needs to be a video and audio file, so not just audio. I need to see your face. You're going to see that there are marks awarded for non-verbal communication, body language, etc. And I need to see your face for this. Your full URL must be included in your assessment, as well as a transcript of the speech. What a transcript is exactly the words that you said in your speech written down. And this is just in case we can't access your YouTube video. I've still got the words that you have actually said in your assessment. So here are the instructions for your assessment. So first of all, you're required to do 80 hours of experiential learning at a specific media company. This 80 hours is the basis of this assessment. Without it, you cannot complete this assessment. Try to find companies that will allow you to work remotely if you're struggling to find a position. So in other words, you have to do your 80 hours in order to complete this assessment. You cannot do one without doing the other. In order for you to successfully complete this individual summative assessment, you will be required to exercise your professional judgment, ethical and technical skills to the best of your ability. So before you your experiential learning, think about the topics that we've covered in class during Professional Skills 2. We have covered 1 or 2 topics in every single class. We've covered a professional skill or 2 professional skills in every single class. So think beyond the basics of just emotional intelligence and self-awareness, and really dig deep and think about negotiation, about feedback, about delegation. All of these are professional skills that we've covered. The next thing to do is to think about how you can put these to use in your experiential learning workplace. How can you be an effective communicator? How can you communicate across cultures? Will this be a useful skill to have, or won't you use it in your workplace? And here are the steps you're going to follow. So step 1, please study this brief really carefully. And when I say that, I really mean that you need to read through it once, then you need to read through it again with a pencil, make notes, underline, circle anything you don't understand, and then go through it again and make sure that you answer those questions. If you still have questions after you've watched this video as well, please get in touch with one of your lecturers to clarify the answer to those questions. So study this brief carefully and ensure that you've arranged a media host organization for your 80 hours of practical experiential learning work integrated learning experience. Step 2, detach and complete and submit your experiential learning host employer confirmation, which is Annexure B at the back of this. And it's not to your lecturer, it's to Jeanette. It needs to be to Jeanette, not to your lecturer. And it can be no later than the date stipulated in your brief that you will have downloaded. We need this to communicate with your host employer. So we're going to send them an email. We're going to confirm that you're actually going there and give them information that they need to assist you. And remember, if you don't submit it, there's a 10% technical penalty. Take note of Annexure A, which is the host-employer evaluation. So this is to be detached and then handed to your mentor or supervisor at your host company once you are finished with your experiential learning, because they need to complete it, give it back to you so that you can complete Section A of this assessment. You can scan this on your phone and email it to your host. However you do it, we're not too worried as long as we get a copy of it and they get a copy of it. Step 4 is to complete your 2 weeks or 80 hours of experiential learning at your host media company. Step 5, complete this assessment. Step 6, submit the assessments as per the instructions on the brief. This will be done via Call Campus, no different here. Then you need to prepare a short 3-minute speech reflecting on your experiential learning. Step 8 is that you need to upload your speech to YouTube and include the URL in your submission, as well as a transcript of the words spoken. Only the first 3 minutes will be marked, so please don't go on for 10. Only the first 3 minutes are going to be marked. And here's your assessment. Section A, reflection on the process for 60 marks. A, write a professional blog post reflecting on your experiential learning process. Choose 2 of the professional skills topics covered in class and think of 2 situations during your experiential learning when you applied these skills. Therefore, you must recall and reflect on 2 situations and 2 different skills utilized in these situations. I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail in a moment, but just bear with me for the time being. Write a professional blog post covering both of these situations that occurred at your experiential learning host company. These answers need to be written in professional language and be structured as follows with the following headings. Okay, so this is exactly how you're going to structure it. Just to note, you don't need to publish this blog anywhere. It doesn't need to be graphical. You don't need pictures. And you are writing it as a professional blog post. So you need to use professional language. Don't use words like hustle, etc. This is a professional blog post, so you need to use academic language. And these are the headings that you're going to use. So you're going to go Section A, professional blog post. Situation 1, title given. So give me a creative title for the situation. Then the skill is your next heading, and you're going to name the professional skill. So some of the ones I named earlier, write it down there, and then give me a definition from your textbook as well as a reference. Then the description. Describe the situation in full. So the situation where you had to put this professional skill to use, describe it in full. Next are the challenges. Now these are the challenges associated with the professional skill in this specific situation. You are not describing the challenges of your experiential learning in full, just of this situation. So everything is pertaining back to the skill that you give me and the situation that you have described. Everything pertains back to those 2 things. Next is the new learning. So what lessons have you learned from this situation? And again, not the new learning of your experiential learning, the new learning surrounding this professional skill in the situation that you have described. And then the action. What are you going to do to help yourself develop the use of this skill going forward? How are you going to improve how you use this professional skill in the future? Then you're going to do the exact same thing, but for a different situation, situation 2, different skill, and you're going to describe a very different situation. So you're doing this exact same thing twice, talking about the situation, the skill, the description, the challenges faced, the new learning, and the action you are going to take going forward. Okay, so I've said here this should not be posted online, only included in the text, no need for graphical elements in this assessment. And you need to study the assessment criteria for the scope of this in the reflective report. Okay, next you need to use your host-employer evaluation for question B. So based on the marks and comments given by your mentor, supervisor, or manager in the host-employer evaluation, draft an action plan of how you're going to address any areas of weakness or noted for growth or development in the evaluation. And you need to use the following template. Question 1. In which areas do I most need to improve? You need to give 2 to 3 areas here for the marks. How will I benefit on improving those areas? And then you need to say, for area 1, I'm going to benefit in this way. For area 2, I'm going to benefit in this way. For area 3, I'm going to benefit in this way. So all of these answers will be connected. What potential obstacles will stand in my way, and how will I get around these? For area 1, the obstacles that stand in my way are. For area 2, the obstacles that stand in my way are. For area 3, the obstacles that stand in my way are. And then for area 1, I'm going to get around these obstacles by, etc. Then what are the specific things I need to do to improve this area or weakness? For area 1, I need to do this. For area 2, I need to do that. So for each area, you're being explicit. And then finally, how will I measure my success? For each area, how will you know you've been successful? You have to attach the employer evaluation here. I need to know the context. What did your employer say about you? And then just to note, this has happened in the past. Either you did incredibly well or your mentor didn't really pay attention to the filling in of the form. If your mentor gives you full marks for every single aspect and didn't indicate any areas for improvement or development, then you need to identify these areas yourself. You need to look at yourself. You need to do a little bit of introspection and decide what areas you want to strengthen or develop, and then draft your action plan around these. And please, very importantly, do not use the same areas from your F1. Strangely, I don't know how it is, you can mark 200 to 300 papers and you can remember individual papers. I don't know how it is. There will be something that you just say that sparks my interest, and I can go back and find your exact paper. So please make sure that you do not use the same areas that you used in your F1. Now, section B is your reflective speech for 25 marks. You are required to give a short 3-minute reflective speech on your experiential learning. This overview of your experiential learning must demonstrate reflection and insight into the professional skills topics in relation to your experience in the world of work. Now, in this speech, you can cover these following aspects, but you don't have to. You can cover any aspects that you want to discuss, but here are some ideas. How has your experience influenced your thinking about your career? What was the highlight of your experiential learning? What aspects caused you the most anxiety? What aspects surprised you? What were the most important things you took away? What did you expect before your experiential learning, and what was the reality? What did you like or dislike the most? And what is the best piece of advice you received? What this needs to be, though, is a reflective overview of your experience. You need to record this. You can just use your phone. We're not too concerned about professional video quality. You need to dress professionally. We need to see that you look like a professional. You need to use professional language, as well as using the presentation skills that you've gained in your time at BMH. The best way to do this speech is to take it on a white background with not too much noise behind you, not in a park with people walking around or next to your friends or something like that. I need to only focus on you. The important thing to note about this speech is that it must be a reflection, not a narrative. So I don't want to hear blow by blow what happened, what you said, what they said, what you wore, what time you got there. A lot of people say, I did my experiential learning at company X. On my first day, I arrived at 8 o'clock. I was wearing these clothes. My boss said that I should do this job. That's not what we're interested in. If you look at these questions, these are questions that reflect on your time there. What have you learned? What were your expectations versus the reality? What was the best bit of advice that you got? What do you think about your career now? Is this where you want to go? So these are reflective. It's not a blow-by-blow account of what happened. And remember to include a transcript of the speech in your submission. You've got additional 15 marks for good use of language and professional formatting. And wonderfully, you do not need to use any additional resources for this assessment. So my advice to you is to just use your textbook for the definitions that you need of your professional skills, reference that, and then include your textbook on your reference page. You do not need to go outside of your textbook for this assessment. I'm more interested in your own unique experiences and perspectives. Please take some time to read through the learning outcomes. and to go very, very closely through the assessment criteria and mark breakdown, because this gives you a very good idea of exactly how we are planning to mark this. And if you don't work towards the mark allocations, you won't be able to get full marks for this assessment. So I wish you the best of luck in this assessment. If you have any questions, please get in touch, and I will speak to you next time.